A Speaker must be in love with democracy. They must be in love with democracy. They cannot use their role as a mechanism to wield power and promote privilege or protect privilege. That is not what this chamber is for. The 150 people elected to this chamber have a solemn duty to their electorates, and it's about democracy. Now, I've never seen the member for Mackellar sitting in the chair and being fair and impartial and bringing that. I think the Prime Minister said that the role should restore dignity. Well, I take offence at that, because the 43rd Parliament had dignity. Just because you didn't act in a dignified way does not mean that the Parliament didn't have dignity. Now, when we unpack democracy, we could look at what the members have done. Let's look at whether the member for Mackellar followed that great Liberal tradition of looking at the policy and crossing the floor. If she's prepared to be bipartisan. I've only seen 2 parliaments, and I've only seen 2 people in this chamber cross the floor on a topic. Only 2 MPs. I think the member for McKillen did it about asylum seekers, and he was rewarded by being totally overlooked. We had the member for Wentworth cross the floor about the ETS, and he was rewarded by being placed on the cover of the Real Solutions brochure. I also went to the other place. And saw Senator Sue Boyce cross the floor the day after the member for Warringah was made leader, and she was rewarded by being overlooked and then booted out of Parliament. I know the member for New England has crossed the floor, and I look forward to seeing how he goes when it comes to voting on GrainCorp. I'm sure he will talk tough and walk soft. So let's look at how the member for Mackellar and the member for McEwen have treated democracy. And the best way to analyse is how they've voted on legislation that brings the votes to Australian people. Let's look after the election, the 2010 election review, where we tried to get 1.5 million people back on the electoral roll. Look at the report of the member for Mackellar, a dissenting report into that election, a dissenting report. Well, and then it has also been suggested, I'm sorry to say this, member for McEwen, that perhaps you are not as, maybe we should support the member for Mackellar for the sisterhood rather than the member for McEwen. You have a Y chromosome, she doesn't. So let's have a look. There is a saying that the head slave whips the hardest. Let's have a look at how the member for Mackellar has treated the sisterhood when given the opportunity. When given the opportunity to stand out in front of a poster out front of this place saying, "Ditch the witch," to saying, "Julia, Bob Brown's bitch," what did she do? Did she apologise? Did she apologise for that? Never. Never apologised for that. And she actually said the people that had those signs were good, decent Australians. This is the fact. That's the fact. We're about to make a decision about the democracy in this place. I think very seriously about these decisions. So, obviously it is an important role, and it's good to have a bit of humour, and I have seen the member for Mackellar in the last 6 years make 2 good jokes. She made a joke about the size of Julia Gillard's nose. Then she made a joke about the clothes that Julia Gillard wore. They were quite funny. But the humour of someone in the chair needs to have a touch of self-deprecation about it. I think the member for Mackellar has deprecation down pat, but that is not the case. Now, the reality is we should choose the member for McEwen for the sake of democracy in this chamber.